like, oh, hey, we couldn't get the awesome guest. The Office showed up on Conan.
So you're our Andy Richter?
Sure, yeah. I'm just there.
Oh, man.
Hey, nothing wrong with Andy Richter, though. I'm proud to be the Andy Richter of this podcast. So, thanks for having me.
No problem, Andy.
All right. What's the theme this time? I'm just thinking like Nathandy or something. You could like roll the names and it's all bad.
Nathandy.
Nathandy is pretty bad.
That's
It's bad. That shouldn't be a name.
It's gross.
Yeah. There you go.
I want to name my first kid Nathandy now.
He'll be the only one. So.
Yeah. Maybe. That feels like something I want to Google, but there's no time for that. Because it's Halloween.
It is. Yeah.
Spooky Halloween time. So we're going to talk about horror games, I guess. But we have to talk about old horror games, which is making this hard to make a list. Because I like newer ones quite a bit more. So, but whatever. Doesn't matter. I have my list of stuff I played growing up. But Nathan, I want to hear what you played growing up. That scared you, spooked you, if you will.
Trying to think if there's really like the Goonies, man. That was a scary game.
Yeah.
It's messed up. No, I don't know. Trying to think.
Friday the 13th on NES.
I mean, I finally played that more recently, but that is an older game. Yeah, I guess every now and then when you stumble on Jason, it's kind of messed up, but I don't know.
He's just standing around that corner waiting to dance.
Yeah. Or like Castlevania, it's all spooky. There's like gothic stuff, got monsters in there.
What about Maniac Mansion? I know you've played that, and that had some kind of weird things as a kid. I remember like walking down this hallway and then a girl chases you.
Was it really scary though, per se?
As a kid, probably.
Somewhat intense in some places, yeah, I guess. Like it's one of those. Well, the first one's one of those adventure games where you can actually, if you're doing really bad, your characters can die.
Yeah, they die.
One of the few LucasArts games where that's true, but I don't know. I spent more time with Day of the Tentacle, which is more just kind of zany, like science kind of stuff. Not so much grim and actual horror type business going on. Not death.
Yeah.
Related, really. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like early games, this just didn't really get that spooky. I mean, hey, you play Mario Bros. 2, and you pick up that key, and then that face starts chasing you.
That's Phanto?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a horror. Like, it's kind of like a horror game, and then otherwise...
It's more like a induced panic attack. He's like, oh shit.
No, it's chasing me! And then or the sun in Mario Bros. 3. Like, you're just running along, and then it starts like, what? Why is that alive? And then it comes and gets you, but...
And then you kill it with the turtle shell, and then you destroy the universe.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, the game doesn't just go black. It's just like, you destroyed the sun. Mario destroyed the sun.
That would be pretty great, actually. The game goes black.
I mean, I guess it fits within our, like, definitions of retro, like, that Majora's Mask, which we talked about at length last time.
For sure.
Pretty much a horror game.
Well, I mean, it has that intense dread that is with you the whole time you're playing it.
Yeah, like using time travel as kind of a means of setting up this really, messed up time limit on all the stuff you're doing, I thought was really great. And then just, freaking moon and weird creatures and kind of a dream logic to a bunch of weird stuff going on. So that's one. There you go. That's a game I thought was horrific in a way.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough. I mean, maybe I'll start here then, because I remember my earliest video game horror experience, and it was a video game called D.
Oh, man. You played D?
I did play D. I never beat it as a kid, though. I didn't actually see the ending until I was much, much older, because that game is a roguelike in the sense that there's no save system. So you have to play it real time, and there's stuff that you can mess up pretty bad in that game. You can die, like, right away in, like, the second room. So kind of annoying in that regard, but for anybody that doesn't know, it was a game mid to early 90s, somewhere in there, released on like the PlayStation, the Sega Saturn, the 3DO, and I think even on PC back in the day. I'm pretty sure.
MS-DOS here, so.
MS-DOS, okay. I played it on, actually, Nathan, you and I were talking about Game Dudes.
Yeah.
So I played it on a Sega Saturn at Game Dudes.
That's a weird place to play a game. Because like that would be just kind of like, hey, man, we got some consoles here, rent some time.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of playing for an hour in like a room with the TV.
But they had this thing where, like, if you had birthday parties and stuff, you could pay like $30 and just be there the whole day.
Yeah, that's where I played Cool Spot. So another horrible, I don't know. But okay, so you're playing D at Game Dudes.
Yeah.
Like, I guess roguelike, so you can kind of just keep jumping in. Is it pretty fast to finish a game? Or?
Well, I mean, I don't know, because I didn't beat it. Like, I guess yes.
Mm-hmm.
There is kind of a time limit. Basically, the story is you play as Laura Harris, and you're told that your father has gone on this mass murdering spree at the hospital that you guys work at, and you go in to try to like stop him or see what's going on, sort of thing. And it turns out he's turning into a vampire. So there is a time limit, and I think it's a maximum of like 3 hours or something like that. Maybe. I don't know. I should probably be looking this up.
Well, I'm looking at some details. Like, I guess 2 hours is the time limit you have. If you wait around too long, the game will just end and say, hey, man, start again.
Right, because you're kind of like going into this other dimension sort of thing. And then, like, if you go past that time, you just get an ending that's like, you get pulled back into the real dimension, and it's just like, out of time, please try again. So you had to do things properly. You had to it was a survival horror where you had to like solve puzzles and do all that sort of stuff, and you had to beat the game in a time limit.
Okay.
So it was rough. It still is rough. The only way I got through it ever was by following a guide. So if you sat me down right now and said play this through, I would probably couldn't beat it, because I don't remember a whole lot of it. But since it was on the PlayStation, Saturn, and all that sort of stuff, it had the FMV sequences and just a whole bunch of really creepy stuff going on. It was kind of like the first Amnesia of its day.
Okay.
But looking back at it now, I don't know. Like, I don't know if you would still get scared by it or not. I might revisit that one, but yeah, that was my earliest experience at D. I was probably like 10, maybe? Would I have been 10? Probably. So it must have been mid-90s.
Yeah, this is 95, 96 is kind of when that was coming out. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
depending on the platform.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that was my earliest experience. I don't know if either of you remember yours.
Pong. It was just so scary. Like, why are they in black space?
Right. It's kind of this weird void, you know.
Why have they turned into paddles? What happened to the people controlling them?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of more of like a mind fuck in that way.
And more of a satire based on racism.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of whatever you want it to be. So
yeah. I think my first actual horror game was probably the original Clock Tower on the Super Famicom.
Okay.
Okay, so that was probably like my second, but I played it years after. So I was still a bit older when I first played that. But yes, I like the Clock Tower games quite a bit. And you played... That was your first one? That's kind of crazy.
I lived in a Christian family. It's pretty hard to lock down scary games back then.
True. Well, it just was in general. There weren't a whole lot of scary games back then, I don't think.
Not really, no.
Yeah, like compared to now where you have your Dead Spaces and your, like, Silent Hill 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I never got to play Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
I do remember one thing that kind of did spook me about a previous game I played when I was younger. Like, remember Home Alone on the NES?
Yes, yeah. I do.
What happens when you get caught in that creepy face that comes up? I just remember that being like super distorted when I was a kid, and it startled me. That's about the only creepy thing I can think of.
Oh, I guess if we're going to talk in that regard, when you die in Zelda 2, every time Ganon comes up was kind of creepy.
Mm-hmm.
So
the return of Ganon. Yeah. I just had to do it again because laughing. Well, you know, he does that.
Yeah.
That's the only place Ganon appears in that game, but yeah.
I just linked you to the picture to see, but I seem to remember that being a lot more distorted when I was a kid. And again, I was a kid, so.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
Oh,
that just appeared out of nowhere when you lost, and I think it always caught me off guard.
Did it scream? Did it go like, ah?
I don't think on the NES, I think it just played like some cheesy music.
Oh, okay. Because I could see like that picture being on your CRT television, and just like this distorted or something would be terrifying.
I think it does in the Super Nintendo version. I know that much.
Yeah. Okay.
But it actually looks more like Macaulay Culkin in the Super Nintendo one,
which is terrifying in its own right. But yeah.
True.
Oh man, Home Alone, first horror game ever made. That's not true at all.
No, not even close.
Like Haunted House, I guess, maybe on the Atari. Be a more likely candidate, but I never played that until I was older, so I don't. It's still retro. It works.
You're like the pair of eyeballs.
You're the pair of eyeballs in the dark. So I don't know. It was creepy probably back then, but not so much when I played it. Kind of annoying when I played it, but
no, it's like 1982, so it's pretty good. That's a nice early contender.
What about you, Nathan?
Hmm?
First scary video game horror experience thing.
I don't know. Like I'm still trying to kind of like at some point when I was like a teenager, we obviously got into like Resident Evil and stuff like that.
Yeah,
which is much more contemporary, well-known, high-profile stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm trying. Like, I know there was definitely like moments in gameplay that was like weird and intense, and you kind of like didn't want something bad to happen, like just dudes chasing you or whatever. But like that's just kind of arcade style stuff. Like you're just playing Pac-Man or something. There's stuff chasing you. Like,
yeah,
that's not scary, but it's got you going.
Have you ever seen that 3D Pac-Man though?
Which what?
The 3D Pac-Man that some indie guy made, where it's Pac-Man, like the original Pac-Man, but it's first person.
Oh,
okay.
That's terrifying because you turn a corner and there's a ghost there. You're like, oh god.
Just bearing down on you, because what's happening is kind of messed up. There's like 4 murderous psychopaths that want to stomp on Pac-Man. He's running around, but I don't know. That's not really in spirit of what we're talking about. I really don't know.
Okay.
I can't really think of anything that was like crystal clear, horrific stuff. So,
well, I'll take you back then a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So after D, we had finally gotten a computer where I could start playing some games that were out at the time. And the guys that made the Duke Nukem 3D, Monolith.
Yeah.
They produced made a game called Blood. And it's basically, I mean, think Duke Nukem 3D or anything else they've ever made. It was a first-person, like, shooter type thing, but you come back to life to kill your old master sort of thing, if I remember correctly. I didn't really care about the story so much. It was more just there was zombies and, like, gory things and blood everywhere and all that sort of stuff, and, like, a dark carnival and references to a bunch of horror movies that were out or like popular at the time. There's a bunch of Army of Darkness quotes. There's some stuff referencing like The Crow, a bunch of different Lovecraft stuff. There's a building called the Overlooked Hotel, just like stuff like that. So it was a lot of paying a lot of homage to horror in general. And the idea was you come back to life and you start off with an axe and you just hack your way through a bunch of like zombies and shit.
Okay.
I don't know if it was really scary, but it had that weird horror movie vibe I was really into for a long time.
Like, did any of you guys play Splatterhouse back when that was kind of contemporary?
I played it when I got into emulation.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I didn't play it back then either.
That
would have been probably a contender, though.
Yeah, so. I'm just looking at like this Blood Monolith stuff. I mean, Monolith, like it's kind of neat to see how far back their horror roots go, though, because Condemned and Fear and stuff. Like that's kind of what I know them for. But
sure,
that they were dabbling in kind of weird, moody, dark stuff before that.
Well, I mean, and I don't know if like you would count them, but I was big into Doom and Doom 2, which were terrifying in their own way.
I could see those being scary, considering you're fighting demons, basically.
Yeah, like growing up, you're still a kid, kind of. You're in this world where you're seeing through the eyes of this guy in this world, and there's demons everywhere. Now, the problem with Doom is that they have the Doom traps, which is what people call them now, basically, because it would be like, oh, this is another doorway I have to go through. You open it, there's nothing in, you walk in a bit, then all the doors around you lock, and you're in a room full of demons. Like, that was pretty bad back in the day. Or this, if you had one or two, like, demons left alive in the whole level, you would just consistently hear them moaning and grunting as you were trying to find where you were going, which was kind of concerning as well. So there'd always be like this sound as you're like walking around these empty halls, and you thought everything was dead, but nope, there's still stuff around. So yeah, you could probably count Doom, I guess, as a horror. Actually, you probably should, right? Now that I think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't put it on my list, but I should have. So I don't know. What about you guys? First person horror things at all?
Yo, Doom 3.
I find Amnesia pretty funny.
Okay.
And you've seen what I think about Slender, so.
There's video of all of that.
Yeah.
So, yes, I have seen and relived it and laughed. Because, to be fair, though, when we were playing Slender, I wasn't feeling it either.
Yeah.
Slender only ever got to me once, and it was when people were talking about it so vaguely. I checked it out myself, and it was right after I had gotten home from work at 2 a.m. I had headphones on, and back then I didn't ever put the light on in my house, because when you're working to just like make ends meet sort of thing, you don't want to waste electricity bill stuff. So I just wouldn't turn anything out like up in the house. So completely dark in the whole house. I was living alone at the time. Headphones on. I went into Slender, and it got to me the first time, and then after that, never again. So I don't know. I didn't see the terror behind it, but I loved watching other people that felt that stress the whole time. Like Nathan, for example. Watching him play the first time was probably one of my top 5 gaming experiences of my whole life.
I get very on edge.
I've never heard you swear so many times in succession.
I can't not swear when I play that game. It's just, it relieves the tension a little. I don't know. I just get really wound up by it.
And it's just funny because people think you talk a lot normally. They should watch you when you're stressed, because you don't stop talking.
Oh, man.
I gotta talk through. It's like, oh shit. I gotta go around. Oh, like, yeah. Just,
and then something happens. You're just like, oh, that's great. That's just fantastic. And you keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, why isn't the page here? It's usually on the truck. Like, yeah. Non-stop talking to the game. That game still bothers me. I don't play it recreationally at all. Like, I have the latest one. I just don't want to.
What was that one game that I got super upset about by the ending? Was that SCP?
SCP-087?
The Stairs, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
so
so dumb.
There's a face. It's got you. Spoilers.
I think Nathan was playing that one too.
Yeah, I played that one.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, there's a thing. Like, there isn't a thing for a very long time, and then there is. That's the scare.
It was just like a goofy thing, wasn't it? And then you just walked up towards it, and it touched you, and you died.
It was just like,
and the game crashed.
It was just
The
like
game
a stupid
just
face.
Goes to desktop. It just ends.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how they do that. I'm like, I haven't played it. I'm kind of curious if you guys have, but like, there's this game that just came out on Steam that Harlan Ellison worked on. It's like, I have no mouth, yet I must scream.
Oh no, that's a super old game.
Yeah, that's really old.
That's like mid-90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, have you guys checked it out or no?
No.
I've seen a playthrough of it.
Okay. Just, it sounds compelling to me. Like, just that this sci-fi writer kind of was involved in the development of it is just like, what? That's so weird. So I've kind of been curious about checking it out. It's a point-and-click adventure, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Just that's kind of an older, like, of that era that I'm kind of curious about, but I haven't seen it firsthand, so I can't really comment on its quality. But
you did bring up
Doom
Doom 3,
on
though.
Halloween 1995, so
You brought up Doom 3, which I want to get back to for a second, because I forgot that is technically, I guess, retro now.
Well, it's within...
Man.
If we're going that far back, then yeah, I got some stuff I can talk about. But
What do you mean?
I forgot that is 10 years old at least.
Well, like not that far back, but still kind of like we're going to the first.
I was still in school when
Xbox.
that was like announced.
Okay.
So
yeah, I just started university when Doom 3 came out.
yeah,
Half-Life, is that a horror game?
I'm gonna say yes because there were some parts in that
I'm gonna say ish,
freaked me
but
out.
that wasn't the focus of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sci-fi, primarily action shooter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Happens. Yeah, I don't know. So I played a bunch of that too. But yeah, Doom 3, Monster Closets, got that chainsaw.
dude, I like Doom 3. I know a lot of people hate it, but I liked it. I don't like that they fixed the whole like you can have the flashlight and gun out at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There was something kind of special where it's like you had to sacrifice sight for power, or like the other way around, where it's like, well, I can see what's coming at me now, and I know there's going to be at least like a 2-second delay before I can do anything about it.
I guess that's
But,
the problem that like people that's a horror style trope, but people didn't want that out of Doom 3. They just wanted a shooter.
Like people generally just don't like horror stuff, I'm going to say, maybe, when it comes to video games, because people don't like to have the feeling where they don't have power, maybe, when they play a video game, which is why I still like the fact that Resident Evil 4, you couldn't walk and shoot. Or 5, right? Now that I think about it. Like, it was only in 6 that you could walk and shoot, right? In Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that they stuck to their guns for a long time, where they're just like, no, you have to stay like in a standing position and just kind of pull your gun out and aim, sort of thing. You can't move and shoot at the same time, because for one thing, realistically, it makes more sense if you're trained to like shoot to kill. You're going to stop and make sure every shot counts, blah, blah, blah. More importantly, I like that feeling of tension that this thing's coming at me and I could either try to run around it or like run around and then shoot it. Or like, I don't like the fact that you can pull out your gun in 6 and like walk towards something or away from something and shoot it. It just feels a lot less scary to me in a lot of ways.
Like you want that weird moment of like you're running with the monster behind you and you don't have a sense of where it is, and then you
or like how much, or you forget
on.
how much ammo you have in your gun, so you're like, oh shit, I might only have like 2 bullets left because I just emptied a full clip in this other dude. But
Yeah.
now I'm running, sort of thing.
Well, like ammo, like limitations and whatever, definitely kind of up the tension and whatever. So
Yeah.
that's some quality business.
Not as retro of a game, but did you guys ever play Condemned 1, Criminal Origins?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me basically a lot of what you're describing.
Yeah, for sure. I really like Condemned Criminal Origins.
There's some good kind of like, I mean, I've seen it more and more, and I guess it always comes from 7, but like that surprise, you think a person's dead and then they're not thing, they do a good moment like that in that game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and like just morbid investigation stuff like CSI, but really weird, dark killings and whatever. And then the melee combat stuff gets pretty weird, and they're just cursy, like just angry psychos. That are yelling obscenities under their breath and whatever. It's a weird pair of games. There'll never be another one of those, right? Second one didn't do well. Bloodshot.
Second one changed too much from what I heard.
I kind of liked it, but
I only played a bit of it.
Yeah.
there's more action in it, I guess. But there's also
it's more of a shooter than the first one was.
Like, I mean, a little bit, but definitely still very limited ammo. Like you'll get a gun with like 3 shots in it, and then it's empty, and then you're hitting somebody with a piece of foosball table or something. Like they're inventive melee weapons. But then also just like creepy burnt doll factory. Like that's just a place you go to in that game, and that's a horror place. Like it's just like there's just burnt dolls everywhere. Like great, this is the worst place to be. But yeah, no, again, Monolith, so they kind of trade heavily in that kind of stuff. Like I guess F.E.A.R is also sort of going for that, but I don't know. I found that more of just like slow motion action shooter that sort of tried to be creepy sometimes. But
F.E.A.R has the single worst jump scare I've ever experienced in a video game, and I'm still angry at it for it.
Like a bad jump scare?
No, like it got me really bad, and it really pissed me off. Because the thing is, when I get scared, I get angry. I don't go into like this like flight mode. I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna hit something.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I want to
Yeah,
punch this
no, like
dude.
I get scared. I'm just like, what the fuck? And I just start like swearing at somebody or something if they scare me. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like I don't like try to run away or anything. So anyways, what Fear did is there's this part where you're going down a ladder and what you do every time in that game when you go down a ladder is you turn and like as you're going down, you kind of face the way you were, the opposite way of where you came, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start going down, right where you were, just right in front of your face is Alma, and then you keep going down. You're just like, oh Jesus, that was the worst thing that could have ever happened. Because after that, every ladder, I was just like, nope. This is gonna piss me off. I'm not gonna break my computer over this. But yeah, I think that was the only one in that whole game. So spoiler alert if you haven't played Fear, I guess.
I haven't played Fear.
9 years ago or something, but
Yeah.
How are the Xbox 360 ports of that? Do you know?
Good.
Oh, I was just talking about the first port of the first one like yesterday.
Yeah.
The achievements in that game are fucked. Like they're just insane. The stuff they expect you to do. Like just like, hey, beat this game, but use only 100 bullets. You're just like, but it's a shooter. I want to shoot. And you're no, you can't. You got to be careful.
Well, that's why it's an achievement.
Yeah,
That's
but
what an
like
achievement should be. Something
it's
actually
also-
challenging.
the weighting of the achievements is just like super punishing. Like it's like I played through that entire game and played like a couple hours of multiplayer on top of it just to like round out my weekend. I have like 70 points in that game. It's just like, good job, you beat it. 20 points. Like play it again, and this time, why don't you use so many bullets? What's wrong with you?
Actually, you know what? That is a fair criticism, because if I remember, Fear was the type of game that when you upped the difficulty, what it did, instead of like actually changing how you're supposed to play, is it just made every character take way more bullets to die.
Like it's just like
You would shoot them in the head with like almost a full clip on the hardest difficulty. So to be able, if there was an achievement, it was like use 100 bullets on the hardest difficulty. It's just impossible.
I can't remember the exact number, but there was like a hard cap on bullets, and it was like a game where the fun is slow motion, shoot all kinds of bullets, and now you can't do that.
But it did give you the slow motion, which made it way easier to kill things instantly. So I could see you doing it. Like it wouldn't
But
be
they want to
overly...
incentivize you like doing the slide punch kind of stuff. Like there was like a weird fighting system.
Yeah,
in
but that
game.
stuff was super effective. It would usually take the dudes out right away, even the armored ones.
Yeah,
So like, why wouldn't you use it anyway, right?
I guess I don't know. It was more just like the no reward for just playing the game like at all. Like they're just like, hey, you know.
The reward should be that you had fun.
Yeah, that's like the Nintendo way of thinking. But I want my achievements to go. Especially then, it was like 2006 or something. I was just like up on achievements, and it's just like, what? Why don't I get all? Like it was like Perfect Dark Zero style, where they just overestimate how popular their multiplayer is going to be.
Yeah.
And put too many of them over there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I found the achievement Nathan was talking about. Less than 500 rounds of ammo.
Oh, that's way easy to do. Are you kidding me? 500 rounds?
500? You should go do that then.
There's maybe like 100 dudes in the game.
But 5 bullets each. I don't know.
Yeah, you can kill them with like 2 bullets to the head each, or the punches.
Count? I don't know.
Do what?
Do rockets count as bullets? Like you need to
probably
count as a bullet.
Or is that Project Origin? I played that one too. But yeah. I never played Fear 3, which apparently has John Carpenter involved somehow.
Yeah. I haven't played it either.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, fine, 500 bullets, whatever.
Yeah, you can do it on the lowest difficulty. Camera turrets count as ammo.
Oh, okay. There you go. Fun, unique challenge for everyone to go try out. Get the 360 version of Fear 1. I don't know.
Or just get it on PC, because any PC could run it now, probably.
Probably.
Back then, it was kind of a feat to run that game.
Kind of bundled together for, Steam sales and all that. Just get a whole mess of Fear.
A whole mess of fear.
Yeah.
Show title.
I was going to say we found the name of the episode.
Yeah.
Mess of Fear. Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Speaking of more Fear,
Yep.
but not the video game. I want to go back to Clock Tower, because I didn't play the original SNES one first. I played the PlayStation one first. And, dude, that game is terrifying, because you take the point and click adventure type game where it's kind of hard to control what you're doing in the first place. And then you add this element of a serial killer consistently chasing you for like the whole game. And every time he comes around, the music starts building. Then you'll hear the door close in the room you're in, and this shing, shing, shing sort of sound, because he's coming after you, and you have to hide, because you can't take that dude on.
You said this was the PlayStation one you're talking about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But
This
if
is
I
weird
remember
to me.
correctly, the PlayStation and SNES version are very similar in the way they play.
It's more or less, yeah. The story and the characters are all different, but there's still a scissors man and stuff like that.
Yeah, the PlayStation version takes place after the incident with the SNES version. Like, it actually starts off with, I think, one of the characters or somebody that was involved in the first incident talking to a therapist about the murders and stuff.
I think only depending on the ending you get, either only one or two people survive the original clock tower.
Yeah. Sorry, Nathan, you were saying something, and then we back in.
Just that sequence you kind of described to me, like serial killer in the room, you gotta hide. Like maybe Deadly Premonition just jacked some of that, because there's sequences where that happens, and you have to hide from the raincoat killer.
Right.
Room. And
But-
yeah,
But what I'm talking about in this game is that even when you hide, if he saw you hide, you can still die. So
Yeah.
like if you're in the bathroom and then like you hear the music start building up, and if you don't hide in the bathroom stall sort of thing, before he comes in, he will just stab his scissors right through the bathroom stall and kill you.
oh, okay.
So
Like,
he will
knows
still get
exactly
you.
where you are.
Yeah.
But there's a nice little build up of like, I think he saw him? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm safely hidden. And then no, you're not. Dead.
Yeah.
Awesome.
exactly.
Okay. Can you set up traps in that? Like in 3,
Yes.
from what I remember seeing, you can kind of make a Home Alone style, like
The-
bunch of traps for the guy.
Mhm.
Kind of
There's
slow him down.
very few places to do it in the Super Famicom one, but I think in the farther along the series went, the more you could do that.
Okay.
Yeah, like Clock Tower 3 kind of predicates its whole gameplay system around that.
Around traps.
Yeah,
Like
because
traps.
like they still had the hiding feature and all that sort of stuff, but you also had to slow down the serial killers coming after you. So you had to put like the weird traps around to slow them down a bit while you did your thing. Clock Tower 3 I genuinely found kind of terrifying in a lot of ways, and I think it might be because there wasn't just the Scissor Man, there was different types of killers. And they were just, I don't know, they were messed up, dude. The first one, if I remember correctly, you go back in time or something, and the dude has like a thing with acid or fire. I can't remember. I think it's acid.
Acid sounds right.
Yeah, and you just see him break into this house, like this poor person house, and just like straight up murderize the grandma and like put her in a vat of acid or something dumb like that. But I don't know. There's something still kind of grounding about a dude with scissors running around. But when you see all these other almost like super villain type serial killers in the different time periods and stuff, it's kind of creepy. Like it has this whole thing where it's like, this isn't modern day. I don't know that like I can hide here and stuff. So I'm kind of out of my element in general. But I don't know. I really like those games. Clock Tower 3 was the last one, right?
Yeah, I think the same team did Haunting Grounds as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at Haunting Ground right now on Wikipedia. Like it's described as similar, so maybe.
Did either of you ever
same
play Clock
dev
Tower
talent.
2?
I have it, but I've never played it.
Okay, Clock Tower 2 goes a completely different way. Whereas there's different acts, and they have like a different creepy thing happening. The first one is straight up just like a murderous doll in a house sort of thing.
Pretty messed up.
It is actually quite messed up. You like enter this house and there's nobody there, and you have to find out what's going on. You just start seeing these people dead everywhere, and then this doll and stuff. So I don't know. That one's a good one. I still like that one. Those games are probably quite hard to find now, I would think. Maybe in stores. You could probably order them still.
I'd kind of hope they'd add those as downloadable stuff, but
I don't think either one is, actually.
oh, okay.
Downloadable?
Yeah.
No, they're not. Neither
Yeah,
of them
I
are,
was
because
gonna
I
say
would
legally.
own them.
Yeah, they're
I guess
both. Yeah, they're both. Age Tech released the second one over here, and ASCII released the first.
But I mean, I guess what do you expect when the company that made those games had Suda at some point working on it? So that dude, oh man, he does some good horror business.
Kind of weird, campy horror business, though, right?
Is
that fair to say?
That's what horror probably should be. Just campy.
Okay.
I like the campiness of horror.
It's like Shadows of the Damned and Killer 7.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Killer 7. That was one of when we were doing the we're going to talk about specific games.
It's like, we're going to play
that
this.
was one
of
of them.
Yeah,
Oh,
and we
this is-
never did.
No, I did. I started
played
it.
it,
And I was
I
like,
just-
this control's really bad. Fuck this.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm going to give up my plan to beat this right here and now.
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know. Fondly, I remember liking it at the time, but definitely, I don't know, kind of tough to put up with how it gates all of its content or whatever. Like, it's just like, hey, walk forward, shoot this guy. Oh, he snuck up on you. Start over. And it's like, okay, I don't know. I'm just waiting for cutscenes at some point. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
Man, I'm looking at Haunting Ground. That game is expensive.
Yeah.
This kind of reminds me of just a bunch of Japanese horror games I never played over the years because I just kind of hear they were kind of okay and then just kind of move on. But that now they're all rare, like Rule of Rose,
Rule of Rose, yeah.
like Creepy Kids.
Well, a lot of the horror games that came out that era were like Atlas and.
Well, I'm seeing Capcom on some of these.
Well, okay, Capcom was Clock Tower 3 and Haunting Grounds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But, they were low print games basically, especially anything Atlas put out.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of been the way horror is in general, though. Even with movies and stuff, it's it's out on DVD, but we only have 2 copies of it because people don't buy horror things. So I would expect video games were kind of the same until they started getting a name for themselves, like the Resident Evils and the Silent Hills and stuff. And it's like, oh no, people actually like this, so we're going to stock up on Resident Evil 6. And then people didn't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What about Fatal Frame? Do you guys have history with those, or?
Kind of. I played the first one for about 10 minutes and turned it off.
Which one?
Too creepy or what? Fatal Frame.
Oh no, I love Fatal Frame.
Have you played through those or
The
some of them?
second one's the only one I beat.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
Those games are pretty freaky. Ghosts.
It's more like a shock horror type game.
It is.
A lot of pop out ghosts right in front of you suddenly.
Yeah.
Ghosts are in your camera. Ooh. That's a thing, right?
Well, I'm
No,
remembering that Are You Afraid of the Dark episode with the gremlin in the camera. But yeah. No,
Wasn't that Goosebumps?
No.
Say cheese and die.
No, that was a different thing. It was the same idea, but it was a different thing that I'm thinking of. But no, the camera captured their souls or set them free or something, if I remember.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna talk about Resident Evil a little bit because was
Resident Evil, Shinji Mikami. I know that guy.
You hung out with him?
DuckTales or something.
There you go. That's his one known game.
that's it. That's the one known game.
Nothing
Well, that
else.
and Shadows of the Damned, which we mentioned earlier. So whatever. Okay.
Okay, so
Go.
Resident Evil, even though I had already played D and Doom and stuff like that, Resident Evil was the first game that really touched the part of me that I really liked horror, like B-movie horror sort of stuff when I was growing up, which makes sense because they have even said that it was made to basically pay respects to that type of movie in a video game form. But I still remember the first time, this was at Game Dudes as well. I played Resident Evil and the zombie looks at you for the first time. It's just that image is burned into my head forever.
Like the cutscene, right?
Yeah, of him turning his head and just looking at you and then getting up and coming after you. And the terrible controls that you weren't used to ever, making it hard to get away. And then you're stuck in this place alone, this mansion, and there's shit everywhere and blah, blah, blah. But Resident Evil still, even though they've gone more action, sci-fi action sort of thing, still stands out as the primary horror video game that like defines what I like about horror video games. And I'm not really sure why. When I try to explain it to people, they're just like, yeah, but it controls terribly. And that's like the only thing they have to say to me. So
Like, yeah, specifically the phrase tank controls. It's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, I never really got into it because of the tank controls.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. I kind of thought it was good, but fair enough.
yeah. I mean, I think you're one of those people even. You're just like, yeah, I didn't get into the series until they fixed the controls. I'm just like, I hate you so
Well,
much.
no, just, 4 I like for all sorts of reasons.
4 is
Like-
really good for a bunch of different reasons, yes.
Like, just the pacing of it, I thought was really, really sharp, too. And, like, they just came up with a bunch of cool, inventive enemies and whatever. Like, that was maybe... I definitely remember replaying Resident Evil games before 4 came out, but I, like, happily did it again, and more than ever, in Resident Evil 4. Like, that was just, like, New Game Plus, like, just whatever, just going through that game over and over and just being like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the first one, like, specifically, I guess, the GameCube remake, I definitely replayed it a couple times. Like, I got to the point where I think I beat it in under 3 hours with Jill, like, one time. I was
Sure.
like, I feel good about that.
Yep.
But that was kind of, that's it for me in that game. I was kind of okay with it. But, 2, like, Resident Evil 2, I played a bunch, and I just never played 3. Like, I just skipped it. And then 4 came along and kind of reinvigorated, like, a lot of stuff for me. Like, I just got more excited about it in that game than any of the previous ones.
But you didn't play Survivor, or Gun Survivor as people know it?
No.
Oh.
Is that one not good?
I like it a lot,
It's
actually.
like, what's the best thing compared to Time Crisis, but horror-ish?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
Dead Aim.
Like,
kinda-
Yeah, I think Survivor is actually like the prequel to Dead Aim.
a more
Great.
self-serious version of House of the Dead, maybe.
I played some House
Yeah,
of the
no,
Dead,
that's a
too.
good comparison.
So
Because
those
the
are-
Survivor always takes itself seriously, well, except for I think the second one, which we never got.
Survivor 2 Code Veronica.
Yeah, I think that turns into this is some weird fevered dream that Claire's having while they're like in the middle of Code Veronica.
Oh, I thought it was taking place while she was in the jail cell at the beginning.
I think it takes place when she's flying to Antarctica.
Oh, when she's like sick or whatever.
Yeah.
That makes sense, actually.
Really? Like, it's just the game is a fever dream within the game, like within Code Veronica's storyline.
So meta.
That's kind of awesome.
Up here.
Yeah.
We could
like-
probably look it up, so it sounds like John's doing that. But you never played Resident Evil 3, huh?
No, like I know the whole Nemesis thing, but we actually had a question on Top Down Perspective recently where someone was asking what was like the scariest creature we had to deal with or something, and I actually said the weird hooded guy or like the weird coat guy. in Resident
Mr.
Evil.
X.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
'cause,
what
like
they
that was
refer
my
to.
introduction to that kind of. There's a super thing that you can't fight. Like just run, it'll stalk you and mess you up, and like that kind of great use of the static background to kind of surprise you, because like.
Yeah.
That was not my first Resident Evil game, so I was kind of used to some of the tricks at this point. So it's like you see a window and you're like, all right, I bet something bad's going to happen. Oh, it's a liquor. Like you're kind of ready for it.
No,
But that-
even better, like going to what you're saying quickly
Yeah.
here, is that what it would happen is the game would maybe lock up for a second while it loaded. So
Yeah.
you knew something was going to happen, or it would go into, for Resident Evil 2 specifically, it would go into the FMV sort of sequence with like the widescreen bars.
Mhm.
So then you knew that something creepy or scary or something was going to happen. What happened with when this thing attacked is nothing. It would just
the
happen.
wall explodes, and it's just like, oh, what the fuck? What? Like, it was like a great, like, jump out of my seat thing. And this was like, I was playing on N64, like, after I'd played GameCube Remake. So, like, this game just looks awful by comparison, but it still got me. Like, it's just like the graphics didn't matter at some point. It's just like, oh, like, I totally was caught up by it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that dude, I guess Mr. X, everyone seems to know him as. I was like, that weird bald guy. He's like a super monk or something. I don't know.
Yeah, in Resident Evil 2, it's Mr. X. He's just a variant of the Tyrant.
Right. So I guess
Yeah.
3, they kind of went further with that idea, right? Like Nemesis is just kind of.
Nemesis is just another Tyrant, just like modified. To be more threatening.
Nemesis was like, I think, a failed experiment where the Tyrant we're talking about, Mr. X, who is actually the T103 model for anybody who's that far deep.
Wow, I'm impressed.
No, the reason I know that is because I've played that game so many times. When his capsule drops, like when you
it says
first see
on
him,
there.
it says right on there T103.
Okay.
But the T-103 Tyrant or whatever was more of like the perfect one, if I remember correctly. But like at that time, they were still working on it.
Well, I
They're
saw
working on
the
it.
movie Resident Evil Apocalypse, and in that,
I genuinely love that movie. I'm sorry. It's the movie version of the video game I grew up with. Sue me.
is that movie's kind of thing where like the problem with Nemesis is he still has like human memories,
Which is
part
stupid.
of it?
Yeah.
Is that not in the game?
No.
Okay. I was like, no, he's like a failed, you know how RoboCop, like he shouldn't remember, but he does. Like, I thought it was kind of, maybe the game does.
No, when you see, okay, so Resident Evil 3, it starts off, you meet up, you do your thing, you're trying to escape the city. You meet up with one of your team members, Brad Vickers, in a bar sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, oh my God, it's coming after us. It's so like blah, 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 or whatever. And you're just like, oh shit, I don't know what he's talking about. And he runs off. When you meet the Nemesis for the first time in that game, he basically just comes out of nowhere, grabs Brad right in front of you, and just like rips him apart and throws him. So,
Right.
yeah. So then
So
and then it's just like, okay,
Oh.
now you have to deal with this. And then he starts chasing you.
Cool.
So the way they introduced him was genuinely kind of okay. But I still think the way they did Mr. X or T-103 or whatever you want to call him in 2 was better, because you're just doing your thing, and then all of a sudden this like thing is chasing you in a random part of the Raccoon City Police Department at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So you might run into it at some point, and it was always the hallway you were going to have to go into, which it was terrifying, because it's like, oh, I know what hallway that is, and now I have to open this door, and he's probably going to be there.
Now that I'm thinking back on the series, like does that one not have like two different characters kind of thing? Is that where they lost that?
Which one?
3.
Oh, 3?
Just Jill, or
It had 2 characters, but the other one wasn't a focus at all. You only played as Jill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of, the first 2 kind of had a neat thing where you could play as different characters and it kind of changes the campaign, right?
Yeah.
Or like, it 2 does the coolest thing where there's like kind of different timeline stuff, right? Like you play as someone, like staggered timelines a bit. Like you're kind of both there, but...
Yeah, the game starts off with like a big tanker wreck, and the 2 characters are on opposite sides of that wreck on the same street.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, once you get to, I do like 4, but 4 kind of gets into more conventional stuff where you're just like, you are Leon, you play through this thing. And, like, there's the whole Ada stuff that's, like, kind of bonus content, but it's definitely not.
That's what Resident Evil 3 does as well. The, like, second character sort of thing is a mercenary named Carlos, and you just kind of play as almost like a time attack monster killing mode.
Well, that was in
with
2
them.
as well, so...
Yeah.
The 4th survivor and then the tofu survivor.
Tofu.
Oh, tofu.
Oh, man. You would think the zombies would just ignore him, but nope. They wanted that tofu.
They were really hungry.
They were vegetarians, I guess.
What is this? Is he made of tofu?
Yeah, he's
It's
just
literally...
tofu.
You've never seen tofu?
I don't know. It's not ringing a bell, so...
It's a stick of
Probably not.
tofu with hands.
Okay.
Here we go. I'll get you a really good picture.
And the only thing he
tofu
carries with
away.
him is a knife.
That's how hardcore tofu is.
Yep.
Doesn't
There you
need
go.
nothing else.
There's a picture of him right there.
Yep,
Great.
that's him.
All right. The
I
super
think
serious...
that's from that might be a Resident Evil 3 shot, I think, actually.
all this Resident Evil lore.
Oh no, that is the tofu survivor screen that they show when you load the mode.
He's the back one, I think, if I remember correctly.
No, the more damage you take, the redder you get.
The redder he gets, yeah,
So
but he doesn't.
I believe he starts perfectly white.
He doesn't have a gun though.
No, you just have a knife.
Yeah.
Oh, and to answer that thing about Survivor 2, yeah, the game's events are actually a dream which Claire's having after the ending of Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Oh,
Okay.
after the ending.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Because the game ends in Antarctica, right?
I never finished Code Veronica.
If memory serves me, that's where it ends.
Like it ends in Antarctica, yes.
Yeah. So when they're leaving at the very end of the game.
Okay, yeah,
That's
yeah.
apparently when this dream happens.
Yeah, because when you start Antarctica, you start playing as Chris, so I didn't know if you were talking about like when
I was
her
ass-
game ends.
Yeah. This is when Chris and Claire are escaping.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I haven't played that game So.
Yeah, no, I haven't beaten Code Veronica either.
Oh, really? No, I played Code Veronica, but.
Did you finish it or?
Oh yeah, many times.
Oh, okay,
but
cool. Yeah, no, I flaked out at some point partway through that game.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a whole like list of games that I was kind of way into until like next gen happened, like 360 came out, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just never gonna finish all this. Time for Dead Rising, and like that was my new jam for quite a while.
Sure.
So I think that's too recent, but the Dead Rising games are kind of cool too.
Sure.
I don't know if they're horror. But they got tons of that camp you were talking about though.
Yeah. No,
So
for
much
sure.
camp. Like it's camp generator right there. Put all these Lego head things on these zombies and laugh it up. Take photos. This is fun times. But okay, so I guess we already talked about like kind of one avenue of survival horror from Japan. Silent Hill is kind of the other big one, right?
Silent Hill, yeah, definitely. That was after Resident Evil for me. Well, I mean, it was after Resident Evil for everybody because
Right.
it came out later. But
I mean, obviously we'll get to Alone in the Dark after that because it's equally important in a lot of ways. But
yeah, but where Resident Evil did more of a B-movie throwback type video game for horror, Silent Hill did more of the psychological, like, mindfuck type horror.
Yeah,
Right.
And that was it. Did it well too.
It did it very well. It still does it probably the best out of like that. If you could call psychological mindfuck horror a genre, Silent Hill is the game that really penciled that genre in.
Mhm.
And still does to this day, but I haven't played the newest ones at all, so I can't talk about those anyway, so it doesn't matter. But Silent Hill 1, the most terrifying thing about Silent Hill 1, 2, I'm trying to remember 3. 3 didn't have it as much. But the fog. The fog that made it so the game ran smoothly, so it didn't have to load assets as frequently.
Yeah, the majority of Silent Hill 3 is indoors, which is why I don't have to deal with the fog. The majority of Silent Hill 2 is outdoors.
And 1 is like almost all outdoors.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
So kind of a genius like use of technical limitations.
3 got around in a really interesting way that still worked.
Yep.
So instead of this fog, you basically what's a staple of the Silent Hill series is the other world, or what do they call it?
I mean, I always just refer to it as like the hell world or something. You know what I mean? Where everything goes crazy.
Yeah, I think there's like an official term for it. But yeah, like there's
Spooky Town.
like suddenly everything looks like super distorted and machine-like and like demonic. And Silent Hill 3 goes like heavy-handed with that to make up for not having like the fog of Silent Hill.
Sure. But I mean, even the Silent Hill 1 and 2 and stuff did the same thing, where if you were indoors, it did the same.
They did, but I feel like they didn't do it as well, because like in Silent Hill 3, like you can visibly see the transition happening.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I guess for the uninitiated, Silent Hill 1, when it happened, everything would just go black and then come back as like fucked up.
So like fade out and then hey, it's back and it's wrong.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, I can't remember how it works in 2. It's been so long.
In 2, it does. I'm trying to remember now too. I think they were maybe in cutscenes.
Oh, maybe. And in 3, it's like in engine happening real time.
Yeah,
that sounds like a cool way to do it. Because I could see them using a cutscene to kind of hide the loading time and bridge the gap, kind of, and then you're back and it's all weird.
I kind of like how 4 did it. I don't know if you guys have played 4 or even like it.
I haven't.
I didn't get far enough in 4.
So the conceit with 4 is that you're stuck in this room. It's called Silent Hill 4, the room, but you're in your apartment, and as you're looking around your apartment and like exploring it sort of thing, there's a hole you find that takes you to the other dimension or whatever. Mm-hmm. And every time you come back, there's like ghosts in your apartment and they're messing stuff up.
That's so great. Like that's
it's
such
so
a great
good.
Idea.
I know. It's too bad that game didn't offer a whole lot, but that's fine. And like the worst part of that game was everything except for the room, which is kind of weird if you think about it. Like the actual gameplay parts were the worst part of that game.
Like, did they kind of go for more combat?
Yeah, that's the point where Silent Hill started going more combat focused, really.
Like, hit this thing with a crowbar. It's just like, I don't want what.
There was like a bunch of different items, like you could choose like your strength of swing or something like that. Or like there were 2 different swings you could do.
Well, you could do that always from the first game. The longer you held the button, the harder you swung.
No, I think that's But
No,
like, I think
maybe that
there was
might be
more
two.
there was more control of it in 4. I remember.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the idea with like 2 and 3, and even the first one, was that you were kind of helpless, and in 4 onwards, it starts feeling like, hey, you can actually fight back.
Yeah. Well, I never had a problem. I never felt helpless in Silent Hill 1 or 2 myself, I guess.
Well, I mean, but that's like what they're trying to convey.
Yeah, probably. I mean, in a way, I'm going to agree with you because the weapons they give you are literally a plank of wood and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess. And you start getting better stuff as the series went along. Origins kind of threw it back to the way the older Silent Hills were, though, which makes sense because Silent Hill Origins, you know. But,
Like, for me, kind of the one I got way into, like, I have a bunch kind of on my to be played list that have just been sitting around forever, but the one I kind of went all the way through was Silent Hill Shattered Memories, which is, I guess, a
weird
remake of the first one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like, I honestly, like, it still stands in my memory as, like, one of the most interesting uses of the Wii as just a thing. Like, it's available on PS2 and PSP and stuff. I'd still say the Wii version is kind of the definitive one. Just because, like, it just does dumb stuff that kind of ends up working. Like, it's like, oh man, I'm getting a creepy phone call, and then you hold up your Wii remote to your ear, and there's just, like, fucked up audio in there, but it's, like, right up next to your face. Like, it's just, you know, super cheesy, but it kind of pulls you in a weird way. But I guess the most inventive stuff that I guess would be true of the other versions is, like, there's all these kind of interview segments. Like, there's a framing narrative where you're kind of in a psychiatrist's office and you're kind of giving responses to all these questions.
Yeah.
And that will actually impact the game's levels a little bit. Like, just the colors of stuff and kind of, like, pictures on the wall and stuff will kind of be altered a little bit to kind of better fit what you just said.
Mhm.
So in weird ways, it'll kind of, like, customize the creepiness to what you are scared of or whatever, as best it can within its, like, limited list of options or whatever. But I remember that being kind of a neat thing. And then the story I just thought unfolded in a pretty cool way. So I'll probably play that again someday. But
Was that the only one you played?
That's the only one I've finished. Like, I've played
Okay.
3 a bit. I played 4 a little bit.
I
have
actually would like
the
to
second
see
one.
you play through the first one because
I would
mean,
too.
Shattered Memories is obviously just a remake of the first one, so it'd be interesting to
Story-
see the parallel. Yeah.
Like, maybe all the stuff I liked about the first one is just, like, or Shattered Memories is just like, oh yeah, that's because that story's great and that's just in there. I'm just like, oh, okay. But yeah. Is that available in any kind of, like, downloadable
Yes.
HD?
Yeah,
thing?
Somehow 1 should be downloadable.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Like, there was the kind of controversy about some of the re-releases, though. Like, they changed the voice acting or something.
No, that collection only has 2 and 3.
Oh.
I think you have to get the PSN version of Silent Hill 1.
Okay. I have 2 and 3, like the original.
And the reason why there was more controversy besides that is that they took away the fog in Silent Hill 2.
Oh, like, there's, like, we got better, you know, more hardware this time, so.
Yep.
Don't worry about
So, like, you know those shitty assets they were hiding? You can see them.
that. Yeah. So just like, oh, you guys should have thought about this more. Like,
Yeah.
That's not what the problem was, but okay. That's a shame.
Silent Hill 2 is still my favorite of those.
Everyone loves that game, so
It's quite
kinda-
good.
like, there's kind of a puzzle-heavy nature to all of these, right?
Yeah.
Like,
They're
yeah.
survival horror games.
Yeah, I believe in the first couple you actually got to set your difficulty of puzzles.
You did. Yep.
Okay. I don't know what to make of that. Like, what would that mean? They're just like that clues.
I remember I played through, I think, Silent Hill 3 a bit on hard puzzle, and like they were like super obtuse puzzles, like put these 5 books in order based on the Greek mythological horror or something like that. I can't remember the full details, but it was just one of those what the hell kind of situations.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you know that extracurricular knowledge?
Well, no, they give you.
They give
like,
you enough
notes
hints
and
to
stuff.
figure it out. Yeah.
Okay.
It just means you have to actually read them.
And
That's essentially what you're setting for the puzzle difficulty is
Like
how much
reading-
you need to pay attention to the fluff around the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right. I'll get around to those someday, but they're kind of daunting. Like, are they long? Like,
No.
am I looking at giant experiences?
No.
Not really.
2
I mean,
hours.
They've
maximum,
got multiple
usually.
endings.
Okay.
Like 3 has one of my favorite like secret endings.
Which one?
UFO.
Yeah. 1 and
And
2
the-
both
the-
have those as well.
Yeah, no, but just the way you have to earn the 3rd UFO ending is hilarious.
I don't remember how you do it on 3.
There's a secret item you get that causes a transformation, and it transforms your character. You're playing as a girl named Heather.
Yeah.
If you use this item, it transforms you into a magical girl like Sailor Moon, and you kill monsters with like love beams or something like that.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah.
It's such a quirky, bizarre choice, but like if you kill, I want to say 150 enemies or 50 or something like that with this one move, then when you get to a certain point in the story, like the halfway point of the story, the game just ends and it plays the most ridiculous ending I've seen in a while and ends with this super goofy song.
All right.
Oh man.
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nathan, do you know the
pretty good.
story for the other games? Like one, I think you do because you
Yeah.
played the
Well,
remake
like,
sort of
dude's
thing.
daughter is lost, and he's searching for her.
But like,
yeah.
does it deal with like the cult, or is it more of like an internal battle in the reimagining?
There's definitely some weird, like, oddballs in the town and stuff, and they kind of. The main stuff I remember is kind of the chase sequences. Like, I don't know if there was action gameplay in the first one, but in all the kind of horror world stuff in Shattered Memories are like, run. There are faceless weirdos.
Not really anything like that.
No, you fought everything in the
Okay.
other one. Yeah.
Well, I guess I found that kind of refreshing too, because it was, a powerless type thing. Like, you have no, like, recourse other than just get out of here. You got to get, to the exit essentially. And it's like a weird game of tag, but with faceless things.
Sure.
So yeah, I don't remember. Like, I mean, I've seen the films and stuff, and there's a cult in there. So I'm wondering if they took points from that and whatever and messed it up in the movies.
That is Silent Hill, though. Like everything, most of the stuff going on revolves around a cult.
Mm-hmm.
At least,
Do they spell everything out like they do in the movie? Because it's just like, there was these witches and they sacrificed this kid and all this stuff. And
It depends how much you pay attention to stuff.
Bits and pieces, yeah. I don't remember there being too much of a focus on cult in 2. I remember it being just heavy in 1 and 3.
No. 2 is well, this is why I want to ask Nathan. Do you know about 2? The story, Nathan?
not really.
Okay, we won't talk about it then because
I'll just say this: 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 are related, although the connection between 2 and 4 is kind of tenuous.
Okay.
2 and 4. Well, I mean, I guess we could say Silent Hill 1 and 3 are more of a like man versus supernatural sort of thing, whereas 2 and 4 are man versus himself.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like
So-
yeah.
Lines. But already saying that, I might have spoiled some stuff in Silent Hill 2.
Okay.
So I apologize, but you should play that game. It's good.
I have Restless Dreams. Do you know what the difference is between those versions? Or
They came out on different systems, and Restless
That's it?
Dreams had
Extra content, extra endings.
yeah.
Oh.
It had the Maria mode.
It wasn't anything big, but it was big enough to piss off people that weren't able to play Restless Dreams. So
And then it came back out on PS2, so
yeah.
So Restless Dreams is on both systems.
Yep.
And I think PC.
like, there's
I
a
think
whole.
they're all on PC actually. 1, 2, and 3, and maybe even 4.
Really?
I know 2 and 3 are. I've physically seen copies of 2 and 3.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
Probably.
those are versions. That might be a way to do it too. But okay. I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, I was kind of joking, but I did play that new Alone in the Dark game in like 2008.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Like,
wait,
I mean-
not the new one. I played the PlayStation one. New Nightmare.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Like, I don't want to kind of just, say it's great or anything, because it really isn't in a lot of ways, but that it has kind of an open world element to it kind of was neat. Like, it just kind of was like, you need to deal with these like weird corrupt trees in Central Park, and it's just really dark. And like, there was an enemy in that game that was basically just living darkness. So you'd shine your light and it would just kind of move around like this puddle of dark, which was kind of cool.
So
But
a more distinct enemy from Alan Wake.
yeah, well, I mean, the Alan Wake enemies are like shadow men, essentially. This was like, just a blob of dark, and it was sentient somehow. It was kind of weird.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I don't know. There was like a crafting system and stuff. But I mean, Alan Wake, I guess you could call that a horror game too. I kind of like that game.
Yeah,
But
I would for sure.
That's getting more and more contemporary. So, at some point we'll just be talking about like what came out last week or something.
Have either of you played the Siren games?
I was just looking at them on PSN actually, because I remembered that was a noteworthy thing I missed. It's kind of weird. There's like an episodic collection that's $40, and then there's just a game called Siren that's $10. What is
That
the
one just called Siren's probably the PS2 game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the one that was episodic is Blood Curse, if I remember.
Yeah.
That was either Siren 2 or Siren 3. I can't remember which.
And there's 12 episodes of that, and it's $40 on there. Like, are those awesome? Like, people have said pretty cool things about them for a while, but I know.
Most people I talk to don't like them, but I have a friend who swears that the episodic one's actually pretty good.
Okay.
I haven't played them, but I like the idea that there's a thing in the game where you can actually see through the people chasing you's eyes to make sure that you're hidden from them.
Okay.
Which is kind of terrifying. I like that. That's really cool. But I haven't played them, so I don't know. That's why I was asking if either of you have.
Yeah, no, like there's definitely a wealth of horror games out there that I am aware of, just because they've kind of been an interesting genre in a lot of ways. Because like games, like we said, are all about empowering the player typically, like just power fantasies, and these are kind of the most polar opposite to those in a way, which might go too far for some people. Like, you're just like, I just want realism. I don't want to be like in a weird spook house all the time. It's just like, no, well, at least it's a little bit different. So there's some. And then Resident Evil is kind of a weird balance where eventually you're just shooting all that stuff, so you kind of now have a power fantasy again.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what it more became. The farther along you got in Resident Evil, the more of a power fantasy it became.
For sure.
Like 4 was basically trying to overwhelm you with just numbers. Like there's a lot of dudes, so now you're still in trouble. Or like those weird blob dudes with multiple hearts that you had to.
It still worked though.
Yeah, like it was still intense, but you definitely felt like if you're competent, you're going to be fine.
There was nothing scary about 5 unless you're super racist.
No. 5 was just like a core action movie.
What about like the DLC stuff they did? Because like
Lost in Nightmares for Resident Evil 5 was
really
great.
Good. It's so good.
Okay, so that's the one with the mansion, right?
Yeah.
Go back or to a different mansion or something.
Yeah, it's storyline wise, it's a different mansion, but it's made to look like the original one. So there's like a lot of throwbacks to the original game, and the few monsters you do end up fighting are like ridiculously powerful, even if you have like powerful weapons.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might try that stuff. I mean, I downloaded that. So
out of the DLCs, I highly recommend Lost in Nightmares. I say you can pass on Desperate Escape.
Oh.
Yeah, probably.
Desperate Escape is basically just like kill enemies. Like there's literally an achievement for killing, I think, 250 enemies. And my first playthrough of it, I was shy of that by 3.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was without trying.
Yeah.
So them definitely going more of an action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Resident Evil 4, though, I think that might be the... Like, for you, that's your thing, right? Like, that's for sure yours.
Yeah. Well, it's like kind of just this sweet combination of the two. Like, it was just kind of an interesting shooter as well. Like, it gives you a lot to kind of think about that a lot of action games don't. Like, in terms of just inventory management. Like, there's almost like an RPG level stuff to some of that. Like, you're just like, well, I got to carry all this stuff. I'm going to equip my fire grenade and use it here. And, like, I don't know. It was interesting. I liked it quite a bit. Whereas, or leveling up your guns. Like, I always use the Red 9, even though it's not technically the best. It's just the best looking. Like, I just opted for that handgun every single time I played it.
What was the name of those creepy lab monsters in 4?
Those gooey things with the hearts, right?
Oh, shit.
What the hell were their names?
Everyone hates them.
They're scary. They're so
like
creepy.
You need to use infrared and
yeah.
I don't.
Some of them just like exploded into spikes.
Yep. If they get too close to you, they just become like a spine.
The regenerator.
The regenerators, yes.
Yeah.
Best thing about 4. And worst.
Yep, the worst is right.
Yeah. And like the Crimson Head zombies in the remake. Oh god. You're just like walking down this hall, motherfucker gets up and starts chasing you. So
are those new to remake? Those aren't original?
They're the only thing that remake, like the remake's the only game that has them.
Oh, cool. No, that was an like awesome addition, because it's just like if you kind of screw up, like you're like, oh, I panicked and I just shotgunned it and then it dropped and bled out or whatever. Like, it's going to become a red, like a Crimson Head at some point, and you don't want that, but you don't have any gas to burn it, so you're just kind of left with this weird tension of ever going back to that hallway.
Well, only certain ones, if I remember, did. And it's one of these things that when you get to the point where you're playing the game over and over again, you just know systematically which ones will become it, so you take care of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe saw through the mechanics there enough to...
I'm talking about the first time before, like, you read online in message boards or, like, any of this stuff on the Twitters. When you just popped in the game, you played for the first time, and that asshole just got up instantly and started running down the hall after you.
Yeah.
So bad.
Awesome panic where it's just like, pause the game! And it's like, okay, what do we do, you guys? Like, we like played that as a group. Like, it was a couple friends just kind of delving into that for the first time. It was definitely like just this group stress thing. Like, it was like a awesome movie for the people who didn't have the controller in their hands. But then, yeah, like all the kind of collaboration of an adventure game puzzle stuff was happening, but also it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the dog scare got us all, and it was awesome. Like, Lisa was messed up. That's just sad, weird story.
I didn't like the Lisa edition very much. I felt it was just not necessary, but that's fine.
Actually, weirdly, is that new too? Like, Lisa
isn't a thing in anything except for that game.
Oh, I thought it was great because, like, I mean, watching the movie Wreck later.
Yep.
Like, it was just like, this is just like Lisa, essentially. Like, she just lives in this attic in this movie. And what? Like, it was just so weird to see, like, on a movie screen, the same kind of idea just brought out. Like, it's just like, wait, there's all this history. There was this lady that turned into a zombie. You're just like, what the hell? Like, this is awesome. Quarantine, I guess, for American viewers.
Yeah, Quarantine.
But, yeah, same story.
Yep.
And never mind. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Go watch.
I mean, okay, so I've been talking a lot. Horror is huge into my past and nostalgia, so I've been talking a lot about this. John, you take it for a bit.
What does horror mean to you, John?
Video games.
Something I can laugh at.
Yeah.
Okay.
Truthfully, I don't know. I think I was kind of, I guess, scarred as a kid. Because I remember when I was super young watching like one of the Friday the 13th movies with like my sister and her friend, and it freaked me out. So I think as a result, I have kind of a warped look on horror. Because I find that a lot of the horror games I play now just make me laugh. Like I've been playing Dead Space Blind.
Yeah.
I've been live streaming it, and like I've got the lights off, everything is making it as scary as I can. But when I play it, I just find myself laughing my ass off half the time. Because what they think is scary is either now predictable or is just like not actually scary and just turns out being unintentionally funny.
Like,
And
their creature design in that is definitely kind of
the creature
album cover. I don't know.
It's good for like I mean, you've got like tentacles coming out, you've got like creepy things trying to get you. So like they went the right aspect, at least with the first Dead Space.
Yeah.
But it's just like at this point now it's cliche, I guess. I think that's the
Yeah.
problem with horror, and the reason most people don't find horror stuff scary anymore is because it's become cliche. That's why like Cabin in the Woods exists, to literally make fun of that.
Yeah.
Like, trade on all the cliches and just kind of turn it into comedy. Like, yeah, I gotcha. Like, I mean, there's all this kind of gross imagery, like there's just blood everywhere or whatever, but that's kind of been made normalized by a bunch of stuff. Video games, Doom and stuff, for example, like, it's just doesn't do it anymore. I guess, like, creepy, weird, unsettling stuff is kind of an interesting way to go about it. Like, not so much, there's blood. Like, it's like there's blood in every game now. Like, that's not new, but like mechanically intense stuff still gets me.
I still really enjoy Silent Hill 2. Like, when I played through that, like, that game made me feel really unsettled with myself.
For sure.
And that's like one of the reasons I really love Silent Hill 2.
For a few reasons. It makes you think about some stuff. But yeah, no, for sure. I do see what you're getting at. I mean, on the topic of Dead Space, the one thing I really like what they did is that they weren't afraid to just leave some parts silent with nothing happening.
Yeah.
Like outer space.
Which is important, because in your games like Resident Evil, every hallway will have like an enemy of some sort. So you have to kind of let the fear gestate a little bit over a period of time and then hit you with something.
Yeah, like
which Dead Space does well.
Yeah, they'll use ambient noise to be like, there might be something nearby, and then you'll walk through a hallway and be perfectly fine.
Which is terrifying. Like, when you're expecting something bad to happen and nothing does, that's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, and I love like the outer space sections where there's no sound.
So good, yeah.
And then an enemy just sneaks up behind you because you couldn't hear anything. It's just like there's so many clever ideas in Dead Space.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't find it scary.
Sure.
I think the only thing that's really gotten me in recent years, like actually scary, has been like anything jump scare-ish.
I don't know if that counts.
Do you think you think jump scares are just that's kind of cheating in a way?
Yeah. But I hate them. So maybe they do count because I dread them happening because they piss me off.
Mm-hmm.
So
to be fair, jump scares usually piss most people off.
Yeah, it's true. People don't like the jump scares.
I mean, it's definitely easy to pull off because like you're so engaged looking at the screen because you're playing the game, and then just slap something that shouldn't be there in front of you. Like that's one way to do it, I guess. But yeah, it seems unearned. It's not really a fair way to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Dead Space though. I'm thinking like I played the second one. Like they kind of go in a more action adventure route with some of their stuff, and like to me that kind of made the horror elements of it fade away. Maybe more like there's still like, oh, it's a creepy environment, but because of the way the game is playing like minute to minute, you're kind of just like, nah, this is just kind of an action movie now. It's just a roller coaster. So I don't expect anything too intense to happen in terms of like, you know, the limitations on ammo and stuff or managing your character. Like it kind of doesn't matter as much. And I don't know how 3 handles it, but I don't know. That first one though, I do remember liking quite a bit. Or now I'm just thinking like, you know, does BioShock count? Are those?
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Maybe not too as much, although every time Big Sister came was kind of nerve-wracking in its own way because I never had ammo.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I guess that's another sort of contemporary horror type thing that's pretty effective.
Getting pretty contemporary now.
Yeah, like let's take another bounce back with I don't know what else is there.
I don't know what to bounce back to.
King's Quest, man, it was weird. Like you know, fairy tales and stuff.
Fairy tales and stuff.
Yeah, like wasn't Rapunzel sort of factoring into one of them? I don't know. Or like the hair of the dog that bitch. Oh no, that's Monkey Island. Whatever. Adventure games.
Yeah, adventure games.
Too, right? Yeah. Now I'm honestly just like fishing through my head. Like,
yeah, I mean, we pretty much went through my history.
Moon, Majora's Mask, gonna crush it. That's up, dude.
That's I think more so unsettling again as well.
Like you just look up and it's like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah, like you just you know that whole game is unsettling because you have like a strict time limit you have to deal with, and then you keep looking up and it keeps getting closer and closer, and you know like your doom is impending, and eventually by the time like you're almost at a time the moon is taking up the entire size of the sky line.
Yeah, like that's kind of like a great way to do that in a video game though. Like you're in that environment for a long time. Like that's a kind of constant time pressure thing. Like there's a lot of ways that is really effective video game horror making. Like whereas I don't know what to expect like conventional movie horror to just kind of translate into video games. Like that's kind of a different thing because you are the character, right? So I don't know. Like all those points where it's just kind of like you have to go into the spooky attic or whatever, like that kind of stuff. I don't know. It feels like, well, I have no other choice other than to do that. So I'm kind of just angry at the game sometimes because it's just like, well, you know, what are you doing? Like I have no choices here. This is what I have to do or else the game won't happen.
Right.
So it kind of undermines like how that would work in a movie where like, you know, people are watching a movie and they're constantly like, oh, why would you go up there? Because like, you know, if it was them, they wouldn't. But in a video game, it's like, well, if it was me, I wouldn't. So I'm not going to. So I'm not going to play the game, I guess.
Yeah, but then that's when games force you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm thinking of like Zombie U. Like they kind of coax you into going places due to survival type stuff, or like Dead Rising survival mode. You need to get food, so you kind of have to go out to go do stuff. Or I was just playing Don't Starve recently, and that actually does a great job of kind of like mechanically making you do stuff. Like you got to explore. It's just like I don't want to. I'm going to sit by the fire. It's like, well, you're going to starve. Like you're going to die. So you need to kind of wander off into this creepy landscape and find stuff. Like I mean, I know that's the most contemporary game we've brought up, pretty much, but
The game that came out like a month ago.
Yeah. It's actually, I'm kind of keen on that right now just because, like, I just ended a pretty decent run. Like, I made it 13 days or whatever. But that game kind of mechanically entices you to go places that you kind of want to. Like, it's like, well, I wouldn't normally want to go out into the forest at night, but I really need to find some berries or something or my guy's going to die. And then I find, like, some messed up creature or something, and it's just like, great. You know, like, I went out here. It was my choice. I guess Miasmata kind of does this too, where it's like you want to navigate this island to, like, cure yourself, but there's also a creature out there. So, like, you'll be preoccupied doing something important to you, and then something weird happens, and you know, like, oh man, now, like, Don't Starve kind of incorporates, like, insanity effect type stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we didn't bring up Eternal Darkness in this, but that was
Yeah.
like, kind of balancing some of that, like, you know, psychological stuff. Like, it had action mechanics in it, but the insanity effects is the thing everyone
the only really scary thing of Eternal Darkness, though, from what I remember, is that bathtub scene, and that's more of a shock horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that. Maybe I didn't see it, but
Like, I mean, like, there's trying to be scary, I guess, or creepy, and I'll admit the sound effects are pretty awesome.
Like, in kind of a fun way too. Like, it's like, oh, your memory card got deleted, and you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, you got me.
No, yeah. Eternal Darkness just likes to fuck with you at every moment. I love it.
Yeah,
But,
even
like,
when they totally don't work. Like, there's like a volume one where it's like, that looks nothing like my TV's interface. So, all right,
Yeah.
like, just kind of falls flat. But sorry, the bathtub thing. I don't know. I don't remember.
This is, I want to say, a third to a halfway through the game, and it's in the mansion. So when you're playing as Alex.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like, you go in this room, and then, like, this big scary, I'll say scary scene happens, but it's also, like, paired up with, like, a super loud yell,
Mm.
and it just kind of catches you completely off guard, and you're just like, oh, jeez. It's a jump scare essentially.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But otherwise, like, I wouldn't really call Eternal Darkness scary, but there's, like, a couple moments where, like, the insanity effects will be like, shit, like when your head explodes.
Yeah.
With no warning.
Like, yeah, there's some fun surprises in that game. And I mean, I do like kind of the larger legacy, like that game has all the characters throughout history kind of thing. So, like, playing a bunch of them, you're just like, well, this guy's probably going to die. But I don't know. Like, you kind of never feel like, well, this is the main character, so it's going to be fine. Like, it's like, no, we're juggling characters all the time. Like, this one ends up dead in, like, this creepy, like, giant column of corpses or whatever. Like, just weird stuff happens to all these people. And it's kind of neat and morbid in a way. And, like I guess Lovecraft again. And I guess on that note, Call of Cthulhu.
Sure.
It's pretty cool. Like, did you guys play that one, Dark Corners of the Earth?
No.
Played a bit of it, yeah. Not a whole lot, though.
Did you get...
I'm not really into Lovecraftian, so...
I mean, I'm not overly familiar. Like, I haven't read much of his stories or whatever. I just know kind of that, you know, ancient creatures of the, like, Elder World or whatever. I don't know, like, just kind of weird ancient demons and weird aliens that react really weird to humans and insanity and asylums and all that kind of weird, great stuff. Like, Dark Corners of the Earth kind of has a pretty good powerless section up front where you don't have a weapon. Like, you're just kind of investigating, and then everything's wrong. Like, you just kind of doing routine cop stuff, and then you find, like, oh wow, this town is not good at all, and I'm in
So it starts off with, like, the cult stuff.
Yeah,
like right away.
Kind of an angry, weird cult, but it kind of, the way you stumble into it, I thought was kind of neat. Like, it's been many years, but I guess I don't want to spoil it if anyone's intrigued by, like, what we're talking about or whatever. But I don't know, like, you kind of naturally find out that things are really bad, and then things just get worse from there, and there's kind of, like, good stealth mechanics, and insanity stuff factors into that. Like, you can literally just die of being scared. Like, your character just looked at something fucked up for too long, and you just lose your mind. And I don't know, there's some kind of inventive uses of stuff like that. I mean, the game, when it even came out, like, it kind of looked dated, so I don't know how it looks now. I think it came out in 2005, but it was, like, delayed from 4 years earlier or something. So
I think you can get, like, someone might have a texture pack for the PC version.
Probably, yeah.
Like, I saw someone was playing the game a little bit on YouTube, and I was watching a bit of it, And it didn't really look scary at the beginning, but then again, I mean, they're also commentating over it, so that kind of deflates some of it.
Sure.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, again, like it's more intense. Like a lot of the games I'm talking about, like it's more they build up tension well, but it's not like a deep, horrific. You know, like you're not like super mortified about what's on the other side of that door or whatever. It's more just like, well, I am fragile within this game world, and I shouldn't get spotted because then I'll fail and I can't win and all this. Like, there's sort of less than compelling reasons for you being scared sometimes, but I don't know. Like, I'm not sure what to expect really from a game on that front. Like, are you supposed to be so, mortified you can't even play it? Like, that seems to be what a lot of people seem to do with Amnesia, right? Like, they just don't even play it. Like, have any of us really gotten like, I mean, John, you kind of described being really kind of jokey with a lot of horror games. Like, have you just run through Amnesia?
Yeah.
Just, whatever. Did you finish it?
No, I didn't finish it. Where did I end? After the water demon.
Okay. Like, that's kind of where I stall out every time. Yeah.
Like, I was playing it with 2 other people in the room. And when I play horror games, I tend to kind of troll around a bit. So in the part where there's this water demon, where if you stand in the water, it starts chasing you, but you can't see it. All you can see is the splashes it's making in the water and the growls.
Yeah.
So what you're supposed to do is stand on these boxes and you'll be perfectly safe. But I just felt like I just held down the run button and just started running around in circles.
Mm-hmm.
I basically just started breaking the game because I could. So, and I think that's also kind of why I don't find Dead Space scary, because my habit of trying to break games kind of ruins the immersion they go for.
Because it works, kind of like it's like
here, I'll use this as an example. In my Dead Space streams, anytime I find like a fully intact human body, I'll use the kinesis to pick it up, and then I'll place it in the frame of a door, and then just let the automated door like either cut their body in half or let them clip through the bottom of the ground, and they'll completely disappear.
Nice.
Okay. So not really how they meant kinesis to be used, probably, but hey.
Yeah, so basically there's like a running gag now for when I do my Dead Space streams that I'm sacrificing someone to the door gods.
Okay. Like, it's like Event Horizon, the ship is sentient, so you gotta appease the doors.
Exactly.
Yeah. There you go. Actually, now I kind of want to play Dead Space again.
I'm having fun with it, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
It's a good game. I like it.
I have all 3 of them, and I feel like I'll play through them all, but I keep hearing that like the farther along the series goes, the less scary it gets, and I already don't find it that scary.
Yeah, because they focus more on like action story.
Yeah, and I mean the 3rd one's co-op, so.
Yeah,
exactly.
They go like that Resident Evil 5 route of just like, yeah, no, don't worry about it.
I feel like that also the co-op aspect kind of ruins horror in general, because
for sure,
how can you be scared when you have someone else with you? Or I guess, how can you be fully scared when you have someone else with you? It kind of deflates the impact.
Mm-hmm.
They could use it like to their benefit, I think. I just don't think people do. Where it's like you have someone with you, so you have this feeling of like you're safe, but then all of a sudden they're gone somewhere.
Or like, what if they were to fear too? You know, like it's like what they're seeing might not necessarily be what you're seeing, and like they could be shooting wildly, and you're just like, "What are you doing?" Like,
that would be awesome.
Type thing. Doesn't Kane and Lynch do a thing where it's like Lynch sees a bunch of cops that Kane doesn't see?
Yeah, but they're people, so he just starts killing people.
Right. So they're just innocent people. But I guess you could kind of have like dude jumping at shadows that his game is giving him, but you're not seeing them. So then you're kind of like, he's ruining your stealth moment or something. But the game kind of gave that player a mechanical reason to do that.
That's legitimately awesome, actually. I would play that.
I mean, that
does sound pretty
moment,
good.
Though. They'd kind of have to come up with a bunch of other 2-player tricks to kind of make that work. But, it's, like that kind of unreliable thing where it's like building a tension between the 2 players, like, so they don't really know what to expect.
Or like your partner or whatever, like during cutscenes, he just sees like you doing some fucked up shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so there's a thing of like, there's no trust there at all. That would be pretty cool, actually.
That kind of lack of trust thing has what's been kind of made me curious about the Thing game for a long time.
Yeah.
Because, like, I know there's a game based on the John Carpenter movie, and like in the movie, like there's kind of this ongoing question of like, well, how do I know the guy I'm rolling with right now isn't a creature? And like I know the game sort of has like trust mechanics where you can kind of like give a friend a gun or something to reassure him, or like give him some food or whatever. Like you can kind of like build up trust between your squad, but someone in your squad might not be trustworthy. So like I wonder how the game plays that. Like I'm told it's great.
No, from what I've seen, I watched someone play through it. You get like an item that you can literally use to test to see if they're infected or not.
Well, like the pin test, kind of like the blood.
Yeah, and apparently, if you keep doing it on one person, they might randomly just be infected, even if you haven't even moved.
Oh, like it's just broken, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I don't know if this is actually the case, or maybe it's just like the version I saw. But it's possible that like if someone you think is perfectly fine will just randomly become infected.
Well, like that might be the game being kind of unfair about it. Like it's just kind of like
I think actually someone even showed a clip of them doing the pin test. They passed the pin test and then immediately turned into a thing.
Okay.
Like their head exploded and suddenly the thing showed up.
So it doesn't play fair. Seems to be kind of
and it doesn't seem to be done well. I think if it could be done better.
Like that general premise of like not knowing who to trust, I think could really be explored in an interesting way.
It has been.
What? How?
Trouble in Terrorist Town. Gary's mod. I've been telling you this.
Okay.
Where there's like 20 people, and then there's even a mode where one, like the thing in like the Antarctic or whatever, and you don't know who to trust because everybody's trying to stay alive, but there's specific people where their goal is to kill everybody.
Okay. Well, like that at some point that sounds kind of like The Ship or Assassin's Creed Brotherhood or something, where it's
or even Spy Party.
Yeah, where it's like, well, I don't know who's out to get me, but someone probably is.
And all of the things you mentioned came out way after, by the way, but okay.
After Terrorist Town?
Yeah, because it was a mod and Gary's mod.
Well, no, I'm not saying. I'm just like I'm not dismissing that as a thing. I'm just saying like, oh, okay, now that I think about it, like these ideas have kind of been
they have been
looked at, but not kind of in a way that's trying to be that creepy. Like The Ship is really whimsical.
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed is kind of, action.
It's Assassin's Creed. Yeah.
Like it's not going for weird exactly. Spy Party is kind of debonair. James Bond, sniping, I don't know. But that's kind of a neat multiplayer thing too. But like what is the aesthetic of Terrorist Town? Is it
Half-Life 2 look?
Okay.
Like
beautiful.
Gary's mod.
Up.
Oh, Gary's mod.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's other weird modes in Gary's mod too that you could play. Like I'm just trying to think of another one. There's one where you can play as Slender Man, and like a bunch of people are in a house and they're trying to stay alive. You have to get all of them before the time runs out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they can only see you when you're standing still, I think, or moving. No, when you're moving, they can see you.
Yeah, I was gonna say standing still seems pretty broken if that's when they can see you.
Yeah, no, when you're moving, they can see you. So, like, you would sneak up on them, and then when they look at you, you would stand completely still, and they wouldn't see anything.
Oh, that's kind of awesome.
But, like, stuff like that would just be fun because then everybody would get on Mumble, and it would just be a fun time of it being like, oh, fuck you, dude, don't do this, and just, like, freaking out at each other. It would be great.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like, there are weird things that do try to do what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're usually the 13-year-old after school in this other program, in the sandbox duel. They're not an actual game.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's where horror has to go. It has to be that 13-year-old kid who hasn't been plagued with the tropes of what horror is from the 80s and 70s and 90s and whatnot.
Like they're just kind of numb to a lot of horror conventions.
Yeah, they're just like, this would be kind of terrifying. Make a game of it. And everybody's like, this is great. 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question for you guys. I finally saw the original Halloween movie for the first time last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that movie actually supposed to be scary?
No, it's supposed to give you a weird sense of dread though the whole time because it's the like thing something's going to happen and you're just kind of waiting for it. And
that's what I thought because it did a really good job of like building suspense, but it didn't feel scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, it is just downright hilarious when he's wearing the sheet over his head.
Oh God, I'd forgotten about that.
So good.
So funny.
Yeah.
Just standing there breathing heavily.
Yeah.
Or, like, there were so many moments in that where it's like, why would you drop the knife? And then she like goes upstairs, like stuff like this, where
She
she
does
just,
it like 3 times.
yeah, like she just like, you are prolonging how horrible this is. Like, you could just finish it, but you're not. And yeah, like that kind of horror movie frustration of watching a character do all sorts of dumb stuff. But
That's
then Donald
when-
Pleasance shows up, and it's awesome.
That's when like the horror movies that actually subvert that, and it's just like the killer's down and the like protagonist or whatever you want to call them just like jumps on them and just like murders them.
Yeah, Friday the 13th.
So good.
Some good.
Yeah.
Just like Corey Feldman isn't messing around. Like, this ends right now.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. So, because yeah, Friday the 13th is more guilty of that than like anything. Where it's just like,
God, yeah.
why? Like, yeah, Jason's lying down. Why did you think that was fine? Like, you know, of course he jumped out of the water at the end and got you. Like, you idiot. Whereas this is like, you had, you know, there was a wood chipper right there. Like,
Yeah.
just finish it up. Just make pulp.
Yeah.
Finish it, and they just don't. So yeah. Whereas I guess if they just literally put all of that in a video game, you would just finish it and then it'd be over.
Right.
So, but that would almost be kind of cool if it's just like, hey, there's a little sandbox thing, there's a bad guy, and you could die, but you could kill him, and it's just kind of like a 1 versus 1, spy versus spy, weird duel. I don't know. It's another way you could do it, but I'm not sure if that would be fun or terrible. Probably be 5 minutes long. Be like
Probably a little
arcade
bit
game.
of both.
Or like Sinistar, dude. That thing's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's talking mess. Anyway, Deadly Premonition Special Collector's Edition comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to get the hottest horror game,
Catch the magic.
yeah, coming to Steam. I don't know. I know neither of you guys, did you play through that? Or
Not
I
to
got
completion.
to the chess scene. That was it.
the chest scene?
Chess scene
Oh, chest scene.
in the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Like early on in the game.
Yeah, that's pretty. Oh, like the computer, like that little puzzle thing.
Yeah.
That isn't a puzzle. Yeah, okay.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about the way that game kind of just builds character I thought was kind of cool in a very weird way, like a very Twin Peaks way. It's obviously derived from that, but that kind of works for me in a way too. Like, I don't know if I was ever like actually that scared about anything going on. It was more just kind of like, this is such a great, like, thorough and totally nuts way of kind of presenting this kind of story of like, there's a serial killer and you got to investigate and you're an FBI agent, and I don't know, tons of whimsy. I thought it was great, but I totally get why, you know, those graphics were real bad and the gameplay was not great. But movie quotes, man, he just talks about movies. Kind of spoke to me. Like, literally, he spoke to me, the player. It was great.
Anyways, so that's it for this week. We'll see you guys next time. Happy Halloween.
Boo.
Ooh.
Wait.
Hashtag too spooky.
Too
Oh.
spooky for you.
We're not going to do like a favorite game.
Favorite game.
Deadly Premonition.
You just wanted to say Deadly Premonition again.
Yeah, one more time. D. That
Find,
does sound.
I was gonna say find D, play it. There we
Okay.
go. There's
Did you ever
my
play, Did you
obscure.
ever play D2?
No, because I didn't have the system.
Okay,
So
fair enough. I heard it's not as good though.
no.
Oh,
It deals with aliens, I think. Maybe. I can't remember.
John, do you have a favorite? Something stands
Clock
out.
Tower.
Clock Tower.
Clock Tower's real good.
Okay. Happy Halloween. Play all those games. Just go get them. They're super readily available. Cheap. Pick up D down at your local supermarket, probably.
Yeah.
No, a lot of these games are like weird and rare, so have fun. But yeah,
Phantasmagoria, go.
yeah, just go get that.
All right,
Probably
see,
down at the Shoppers Drug Mart bargain bin.
all right, see ya.
Okay.